Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Jillian King, and I'm excited to introduce you all to the third and final part of the Winter 2024 FBA Family Business Panel discussion. What does success look like in 2025? Next, I will introduce you to our panelists and the moderator for this discussion. We are joined today by returning panelists Stephen Wilchins, founding partner at Wilchins, Cosentino and Novins, and Richard Hirschen, partner at Gray, Gray, as well as our guest panelists, Tim Barrett, Chief Operating Officer and co-CEO of Barrett Distribution Centers, Arthur Barrett, President of Barrett Distribution Centers, and Brian Nagle, co-founder of the Family Business Association and Senior Managing Director of Citizens Private Wealth. Last but not least, Radio Entrepreneur's host and CEO of Mage LLC, Jeffrey Davis. Welcome, Jeffrey. I will now hand the conversation over to you.
Thank you very much, Jillian. And as usual, a wonderful job. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome back to the FBA panelists and to our guests, the Barretts. I'm going to turn this into a little bit different again. I like to do that. I like to turn the car around and go in different directions every once in a while. This should be a topic that Stephen and Brian will enjoy. Governance. I want to talk about governance because too many family businesses, believe it or not, since you don't work in a lot of family businesses, you work in one, have no rules and no governance, or governance that they've looked at regularly or updated. I'm wondering, how does governance help Barrett be successful? And how do you look at these things?
Oh boy. So I hate to disappoint you, but I'm not sure. We probably have more than we think we do, but I'm not sure we have a lot. Yeah, we've certainly done a good job of, I think, getting our house in order in terms of having really solid documents on what happens if something were to happen to one of us, and how the surviving family would be, taken care of, and obviously the business can continue to go on because, one of the things we're pretty clear about is that Arthur and I run the business, and if something happened to one of us, then the business itself would clearly go to the other, right? Not to, we don't want we don't want a lot of partners and a lot of family members in the business. So I guess that's one part of it that we've certainly taken care of. As far as how we run the business, I don't know that we have a lot of written governance. We certainly are very disciplined in what we do, and we think we make solid decisions. But I don't know, unless you have a better idea on that. I don't know if we have a lot.
The only other thought is we were very thoughtful about 4 or 5 years ago when we did some estate planning, and so we still have all of the voting shares, but moved a fair bit of the equity for estate planning purposes out of our personal balance sheets, but our kids don't know about it, and we certainly hope that therefore they don't hear this episode.
I guess we got to kill the episode.
So what happens if family members do come in, the next generation? I mean,
we haven't had to deal with that yet, so that's probably governance that we should get down on paper.
So it goes to employment issues for family members. It goes to, should family members be working, or do they come in? I mean, depending on the ages of your children, some seem like they're working. So, I mean, right now you have everything under control until it's not under control.
Right. You would think that they're working, but actually, so we each have 3. We each have 1 or 2 out of college, but my 2 out of college decided not to stop their education, so I'm still carrying that. I've got my oldest just finished his first semester of law school, and my middle boy just wrapping up his master's in accounting at Northeastern. So we don't have a written rule, but to my own children, I've made it clear that they need to go and do something else first before they would ever be considered to come into the business. We want them to, I want my kids to have choices and to go gain experience somewhere else before they think that they're going to have a seat at this table.
To that end, if professional management were to come in to assist, if family members aren't interested, would you envision the very easy, streamlined decision-making processes that you have today changing and perhaps becoming more formalized? Because clearly the two of you get along very well. You have different focuses in the business, but as that management layer comes in, should it come in, or additional family members, to Stephen's point, would you formalize that slightly differently?
Yeah, it's a great point. So yeah, we're lifelong learners, so we're learning something right now. So we appreciate the questions. Yeah, I think you're right. We would absolutely have to have more solid governance and documentation on exactly, what level of decision making outside management would have, and what levels they wouldn't have, and what would have to go for approval. So yeah, a lot to think through there for sure that we haven't done yet.
Well, we are all getting older, and these are the things that, especially I think for some of us, when we're dealing with, I'm not saying you are baby boomers, that if they've done these things in advance, it makes life a little bit easier and business easier. And when they're doing it sort of like fast as they're getting into their mid to late 60s, it can be a real problem.
Yeah.
So let me see if I have an understanding. So what I'm saying is that to the extent at this moment, if you don't go into the business talking to your children and I pass away, I won't have any opportunity to be involved and own the business. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, right now
Correct.
that's how it is. Yeah.
I mean, the equity would pass first to our spouses, and neither of us would really be interested in having the other's spouse as a business partner.
Right.
So, the survivor would continue to run the business and buy out the spouse of the deceased if that were to happen.
Okay. I was just curious on another thing, the board of advisors. Why do you feel that you only have industry experience? I mean, you've been very successful, so success has been amazing. But I'm just curious, why haven't you looked at something else, like someone with technology expertise or marketing expertise, or you said, Arthur, you said the real estate, maybe a real estate person who has industrial experience. I mean, why is it only industry experience that you feel you?
I don't think we feel that that's all we need. That's all we've done so far. So we have thought about and talked about expanding the board. We just haven't done it just yet. But we would look for other areas, and you're actually hitting the nail on the head. Our outside advisors, their recommendation is that we would find somebody with deep technology experience as the next member of our board.
Like AI, for example?
Someone who has done like the internet, right? In the marketing on the internet, or AI or something, right? I mean.
Yeah. For us, I think it'd be more about introducing new levels of automation that we don't yet haven't yet implemented, and frankly don't know enough about just yet.
Okay.
So in looking back over all the years in terms of operating the company and governing the company, managing it, if there's anything you could do differently, what would it be? It's me to be in this panel, maybe.
Yeah, so I think we do a pretty good job of making decisions fast, or methodically but fast. If anything, I would say we probably could have gone faster. We were very early in the robotics. We were one of the first people to use both Locust Robotics and Six River Robotics. They're both those companies are headquartered here in Massachusetts, and we were we had great partnerships with both of them and one of their first customers. And we didn't deploy that as fast as we could have and should have in hindsight. We went slow with that. I think a lot of people will say that making decisions on hiring talent. We've hired a lot of great talent, but I would say a lot of cases we should have hired the talent sooner. So yeah, I would say just going faster. Even though we've grown at a really fast pace, and I think we've managed it well. In hindsight, we probably could have gone faster.
Along the way, we've made, I don't want to make it sound, too humble, but a lot of sacrifices along the way. We've done a really good job of reinvesting in the business instead of pulling cash out of the business. And that's been hugely successful for us. Our return on equity is off the charts, because we have reinvested so much back into the business.
So some of those large decisions, like the implementation of the robotics, they may feel like they were slow, but there's a report by McKinsey on family businesses being a little more cautious with their balance sheet. And they've navigated difficult times like 08, 09, COVID, when things, black swan type events have occurred. So there is a history and a precedent of the family businesses focusing on being a little more conservative, and it has served them well as part of their strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I agree. That's why I was a little bit hesitant to say that, but if I were looking back, I think we would have been further along if we had moved faster. But yeah, we certainly run the business in we make very informed and educated risk decisions, I think. So yeah.
Hey, Tim, you guys are doing a great job. What do you mean by further along?
Well, I think that right now just in the last 12 months, we've deployed robotics into about 5 new facilities, 5 new customers. If you can't do everything, right? But if we had implemented those robotics into those same customers 3 or 4 years sooner, we'd be that much better off and that much further along, right? So there's always priorities, right? So there's only so much you can accomplish, but that's in my head. That's what I'm referring to. And whether or not we could have done it is a different story, but I think we would have been better off if we had been able to do it.
Do you anticipate AI interfacing with the robotics as you roll these out in the near future?
Sure. It's a huge, obviously huge topic. We are presumably there's 3 different software. The robots are really software, really more so than the physical robots. So there's 3 different software services that we're using. 2 of them are the robotics, another is a different software that helps us with our pick mods. And they all, presumably use they claim they use AI, right? And so I think it is coming. It just as a way that they're using AI in the sense that they're looking at I guess more looking at history. It's not real. I don't know if it's really truly AI, but they're looking at history, and they're using the robots to redeploy inventory into the best locations, right? Things like that. I mean, that's really just mining data, I would say, more so than AI. But all of the software companies that we work with all are at least heading in that direction, and they're looking at ways that they can deploy AI. So it's coming at you with a fire hose, no matter what, no matter what you might want to do, that you're going to be having to use it.
One of the other technologies we haven't talked about is the use of drones. And right now, the drones that we are deploying, I don't want to call them, dumb devices, but they fly their missions at night when the inventory is stationary, and they're performing the cycle counts for us, and they're flagging any mismatches. But we're not yet using them to actually count. Right now, they're just doing a match verification that, the license plate on that piece of inventory does match with the SKU on that inventory and the barcoded location. And so as long as there's a match across all three elements, we're good to go. And every morning we walk into an exception report where we can fix anything that didn't line up perfectly.
And it sounds like the drones are going to pick up as part of your business, interfacing with the robotics.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt.
absolutely.
Yep.
That's been part of my discussion with other organizations, the whole AI and drones and how it's going to change things. But only because we have a few more minutes as a third panel. Does anyone on my panel have any other questions they want to ask before we're done?
Are you unionized?
No, absolutely not. Hopefully we'll stay that way.
So is that a concern?
Yeah, we're and we're not anti-union. I mean, we're pro-employee. I mean, we think we're open book management. We think our employees are better off, with taking more control over their own life, their own ability to advance and make money. And so yeah, it's.
But on the distribution side, you must use union transporting, right? Or no?
Well, we use UPS.
Certainly a lot of the carriers that we work with.
When you cross states, right?
Yep.
I'll take the question into a little bit more of a touchy area. And, you're such strong believers in open book management and communication. My partner and I once had a client that all the shareholders came out of the Second World War, and they had a non-spousal communication structure. And you notice with a lot of family businesses, they don't have a lot of boundaries with home. And I'm wondering how you guys make this work at home, what the separation of business and home is. And it's an important part of a family business success. So I hope you don't mind me asking you that.
Don't mind at all. So my wife worked out of the home for 40 years. She worked at the Miriam Hospital in Providence. Certainly a higher calling than moving boxes around in a warehouse. So, and particularly during the pandemic. So she doesn't really have time to ask me questions about the business. She's got her own professional responsibilities that are much more important than mine.
That's a good answer. Keep it busy.
However, she just retired after 41 years at the Miriam. So I don't yet know what that may mean for the balance of work and home. And I'm about to find out. Today's her birthday, as a matter of fact. So I'll wish her a happy birthday in case she listens to this.
Happy birthday from all of us. Tim, do you want to address that question at all?
Yeah, I would say so. I my entire life, I've really tried to separate my home and work life, even before I worked here. So I don't talk about work very much at home, to be candid. And, and it's really, I share with my wife, what's going on or important things, or, I certainly, want her to be informed, but, she doesn't have a huge interest necessarily in learning more about the business. And, and frankly, I think when I get home, I really would rather focus on the family and not the business. So
the flip side of that is, likewise, Tim and I don't really talk about family stuff at work either, which drives our wives
yeah, that's
nutty.
true. That is true.
Like
Arthur will go on vacation and comes back from Italy or somewhere, and I'll come home like the first day he's back, and Lauren will be like, "Hey, well, how was their trip to Italy?" I'm like, "I didn't even ask him about it."
Well, I have a business partner like that too. And, just to let you know, before we close off, my business partner grew up about 5 blocks from me in Montreal, went to the same high school. A few years later, I must admit, and we never talk personal stuff at work. We're always focused on the business, and all our conversations are business oriented, and it's worked, I think,
Yeah.
that we don't do that. But, again, I want to thank you. You are a model for all of us of a successful business, and we want to thank your continued support of the Family Business Association. I'm going to turn it over to Jillian King, our great producer.
Thank you, everyone. What an important conversation for family businesses. That wraps up this final segment of our Winter 2024 FBA Family Business Panel discussion. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers who have tuned in for this panel. Be sure to check out parts 1 and 2 and click subscribe just below the video if you're on YouTube, or follow if you're listening on one of our podcast platforms to stay up to date on all our postings as they go live. If you're a fan of our videos, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and press the bell button. It helps immensely. Radio Entrepreneurs is also active on LinkedIn, so be sure to follow our page there as well for more business advice and discussions. Until next time, goodbye and thanks for listening. We'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.